write about. Trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watts with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, E.Z. BlueZ is in the building. Easy BlueZ, you were better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
See, ladies and gentlemen, what people don't really understand is it takes more than just the musicians out there to really establish a scene. It takes more than just the patrons that come out to see these musicians play to truly establish a scene. And this next person went from a tender, or as some people would like to say, five years in a row, the best bartender in our nice little New Haven County, went from a tender to a promoter to the owner of a venue, an actual venue, not that there's anything wrong with the bars that happen to have a stage, but this is a place where music is presented that happens to have a bar. So I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, you keep your hands at 10 and 2 because we don't want any accidents, but put your hands together mentally for our guest, the owner of the State House. Everyone knows. Pause for applause. Carlos Wells. Brother, how have you been? Welcome, benvenue.
Thank you. Thanks. No, I've been good. Thanks for having me. This is a treat.
Most definitely. It's really good to have you here, buddy.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Easy. Uh-oh.
Oh, froze up.
We got a little freeze frame.
He's back.
He's back, man. The show goes on. Let's go, Easy.
Am I back? Okay, good. This is all getting prepared. I don't even want to talk about interwebs. But what, it's a long journey to talk about, but what really took you from being just a fan of music to actually not only, being a phenomenal show promoter and producer, but then also owning a record label and now owning an actual performance venue? What kind of journey was that like?
It was kind of a long, broke and meandering path that I followed there. I guess it kind of started in college. I started going to some shows in New Haven. I grew up in Bridgeport, so back there wasn't much going on. There was like a couple gigs here and there, usually in the basement of some house, that sort of thing. And I would go as one does and have as much fun as possible. And then, just look forward to the next one. And it kind of became like an addiction that kind of like permeated throughout my whole life. Once I get into college, I decided to get involved more. So I started doing college radio, started working programs councils up at Central Connecticut State University, bringing shows in. And then moved to New Haven, started working some bars, started booking some shows, and everything else just kind of took me where I am now. So.
No, that's awesome. And I also love the fact that, just so everybody knows this too, and I think is phenomenal about you as well, you encourage a lot of like the bartenders or like the sound people to also start to book shows and venture out into that type of aspect as well. And you don't really necessarily see that, in jobs. They want you, most employers just want you to be good at your job, not necessarily try to take theirs as well. So I want to give you your flowers for that.
Oh, thanks. Well, I think it's important, and working in bars can be sometimes soul crushing in a way that you're just watching people devolve in sort of weird ways. And sometimes, celebratory in nature, sometimes just, what we do from day to day. So I decided to focus more on booking shows, which is why when I finally got the funding together, I opened up the State House with Slate, and it was kind of our opportunity to give people something to do. Like I wanted the focus to be more about the performances, not so much the drinking, even though that's pretty much our bread and butter. And with the people that work for me, we're all in it for the same reason. We want to be a part of it. We want to be, you think about these shows you go to and have the best time. They're celebratory in nature. Mm-hmm. You'll reminisce about it fondly. You'll tell people about it. If you're involved in the making of that, it's almost like you're part of their good time. So Yeah, I encourage anybody that works for me. Like, if you need help, want to break into booking some shows, putting together some events, I'll be more than happy to like share all the knowledge that I have, which isn't much. You know, usually it's real easy. They'll do the thing if you pay them to do the thing, and that's it. You know, just make sure everyone's safe. Don't discriminate. Be as inclusive as possible. You know. One of the things for the State House when we opened it was that there's a bunch of places around New Haven that did shows, but none that I felt were actually bookend to diversity of New Haven itself. Mm-hmm. There was just like a lot of stages with, you know, for lack of better words, just like indie rock for white kids, which is cool. I love indie rock, but you know, where's my cumbia? Where's my salsa? Where's my hip hop? Where's all the things that like people in the town of New Haven actually listen to and are fans of? So I thought that could be our hook. You know, we're going to try to actually like build a place that's by the community for the community, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that's something that everybody puts in their bio or their mission statement when opening up a new place, but we're trying to at least, you know, adhere to that as much as possible.
And if anyone wants to check receipts on that, they can just look at a couple of weeks ago, in a 4-day span, you had klezmer music, you had a punk rock drag show, and then you had the Steve Rogers show, and then an indie rock show. You know, so, you know, and then a couple weeks prior to that, you had Little Eazy-E come through the door as well. You know, so, you know, at the same week that you had Martin Rev, you know, so there is this definitely diversity. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about that, about the venue itself. And you know, what you really start to see there, because it's interesting, you know, you think regulars for like a bar or something like that. But I don't know if you even know that there are regulars who come to the State House just because the State House is open that day. So there's got to be a cool show that's happening there. And no matter what, they're willing to pay that door fee just to be a part of what is about to go on, you know, so they feel like they don't miss out. You know, there was one week that for 4 days, no, the same woman came through the door. One day she wasn't feeling the music, so she walked it, and the other 2 days she came through and had the time of her life. You know, so that I really think is awesome.
Cool. Yeah, we need 100 more people like that, and then we'll be all set. Just give it whatever a chance.
Yeah. No, and it's so true, and you know, you hear it also from like the local musicians and especially. You know, because 9 times out of 10, you know, especially on Crown Street, the venues, the stages are smaller, everything's on top of each other and different things like that. Plus, you know, if you're you're headlining a show, some of these places don't have the room to give you your own space or the green room aspect of it, you know, but that's one of the things that you guys do and provide for, you know, the acts, not just the big drawing acts. And I think that's really incredible because you get that experience and it's really necessary. Like as a musician, and as an act that's trying to grow, it's important to get that experience now. You know, so you know, this can become regular. So when you do have that shot to play that bigger step show, it's not a culture shock aspect that'll take you off your game. And then you might not be able to play as well as you should have because you're still kind of blown away that there were M&Ms downstairs for you. You know, so Thank you again. It's important.
Thanks. Yeah. No, the size of the room is a blessing and a curse. I love that we're able to bring in larger acts that need the bigger room. I love that we were able to house that many more people because when that room is full, it transforms the place. It's almost unidentifiable. You're just kind of into this whole different thing. But it's also kind of a curse because everybody that thought about picking up a guitar will get in touch with me and endlessly hound me about, like, this is where they want to start off. And I'm like, well, you know, we're 250 max cap. Maybe you want to start smaller room, you know, build up to that. Yeah. But not everybody feels that way. Yeah.
No, not all. And for those that are listening, that, you know, they're out there, those people that picked up the guitar and are trying to hit up Carlos right now, you know, I will tell you, it's actually important to play those smaller rooms. It's important to learn how to own a smaller stage before you try to tackle a bigger one, because a stage your guys' size, from a performer, from someone who's been performing pretty much, man, more than his life. That's crazy. I'm old. You know, the stage, like, it's an overwhelming space. You know, I love to move around, you know, and you know, I can get lost kind of like where you're going. And now all of a sudden you're running laps and I don't have an inhaler, you know, so definitely start off on the smaller stages and then build up. It's the same as if you were, you know, doing any type of professional bodybuilding or staying in shape. You don't automatically run over there and pick up, you know, the 250-pound dumbbells and try to do pulls. You start off with the 5-pounders. So it's really, really important to pace yourself and then get there and have those moments. A couple weeks ago, the amazing band Pondview came through, and, you know, they were like, oh man, this was like a bucket list for us. And, you know, that's so cool to hear. And then it's also so cool to watch, because when it becomes something that you super, super want, that first time you perform there, it's amazing, because you've accomplished something. You know, one of the things that, you know, when I came out to New Haven, I think I actually showed it to Prestige, was I had a checklist. There were certain things I needed to do where I knew I was going to be okay, you know, through the music scene, you know, and you know, playing at certain different places here, that's a checklist. Making sure you're doing the anniversary show for here, that's a checklist moment. You know, and once you start to accomplish all those different things, your performance becomes better, and you actually start to see you're making a bigger difference than you genuinely can say you are. Because no matter what, the pockets are not fat when you are a performer. You know, so if you're going by your bank account alone, you have already failed. So make a checklist, and you'll feel better about yourself.
Yeah, unless we're able to monetize exposure. Most musicians in town are not doing well.
Monetize exposure. One of these years we'll monetize exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be great. Good times. Now, as you know, what was it like? Because you actually started out with a different type of like liquor license aspect, and then you went through the whole process to kind of grow and expand and all those different things. You know, do you find that the old type of things are more of a hindrance as you're continuing to grow, or are you starting to see that some of these rules actually make a lot of points? Just like you telling that guitar player, maybe you want to start in a smaller stage. Maybe, you know, those rules and regulations are telling younger businesses they need to also start on that smaller stage.
Well, honestly, as far as like the evolution of the bar and the licenses that we went through and all that, it's all growing pains. You know, we went in this idealized view that we're going to do this one thing and that it was going to work, you know? And then about 3 months into it, when you realize that that's not really taking off the way you wanted it, you're like, all right, how can we pivot to stay alive? And that's the skill, I think, that's the most necessary with musicians, with people in the industry, promoters, anybody. Just being able to think on your feet and not panic. Because while we're getting ready to open up the venue, you know, just to give you a financial background to me, I'm totally broke, and my partner also. So we opened this place with like a loan from my previous employer and a matching funds grant that we used the loan to offset. And, you know, we had just enough money to open doors, and that's it. So like we didn't make it in that first week, second week, then, you know, grand opening, grand closing, you know, all within a month of each other. So, yeah, so we're constantly like, you know, freaking out inside, keeping it cool, and then trying to figure out how we can remedy the situation from where we are. The one thing I will tell you about the tavern license is that it was just so not worth it. We thought with the tavern license, which allows you to just do beer and wine, no liquor, we're like, well, you know, the price difference and the insurance difference of having that license versus a cafe license are are crazy. Like, you know, it's only like $100 or some crap like that for the tavern license. It's like a tenth of all the other licenses. But found out that most people just aren't into beer. So, you know, there's some crowds, especially when you're going to have like a diverse showing, not every scene is to drinking beers. A lot of people just want to have a mixed drink here and there, that sort of thing. And if you don't have what they want, they're just, you're not getting anything out of it. They'll just stand there for the duration of the show and then roll out and go drink somewhere else. Yeah. So it's like, well, that was a big fat waste of time, but you know, you learn, you move on, you adapt, and then you hope the next time you get it right.
Man, I absolutely love it, and I want to thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure there's a whole bunch of people who are like, I didn't even think about that. And that makes complete and total sense. Now, you don't just sit and deal with like the book. Now, again, this is post-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, it wasn't just necessarily about like the bookings of the phenomenal local shows that have some touring, that also had some touring aspects, you know, like Cheshki and different things like that. You were also bringing in multicultural performances, some of the best ones out there, where the party was just incredible. That's a big part of the mission statement of the State House, and a big part of who you guys are. How did that start?
It starts because I'm a nerd for records. Before opening up the venue, I would DJ some places. I would just get really, really nerdy about like, you know, world music and psychedelic music and stuff like that, just amass records. And then when we opened, I actually tapped my friend Rick Ramonte, who Shockey Presents. I wanted to bring him in and be like head of booking. So at that time, the whole thing was we're going to have like at least one international show a month. And I think at one point we realized that we had like bands arriving from Africa like every other week, which was awesome. Personally, like loved every second of it, but financially, it just unsustainable, I think is what we're looking for. Because when people travel abroad, they need accommodations, they need help writing visas, they have like, you know, higher guarantees. They can't just show up and, you know, hope they can expand their Facebook likes or something. You know, it's very much, we're here, it's costing us money to be here, we need to make it back. So that was a bit rough at first, you know, but people started kind of dialing into what we were doing. People started showing up, just giving it a chance, as you said before. And that was fantastic. The pandemic hit, not a lot of people traveling overseas. You know, a lot of tours were rerouted, canceled. It's all starting to come back now, but since it was I think we were shut down. I was literally sitting on my hands for like a year and a half. Mm-hmm. That like, it's like, let's wade in the water on this one. We'll just get mostly local regional bands back in just to kind of like get everything back up and running, and then introduce a couple like international acts here and there. You know, Rick is actually putting a couple of those shows together over at Cafe 9. And yeah, actually this August, I think it is, Meridian Brothers are going to be there. They're like a psychedelic cumbia band from Colombia that like, I'm so excited about. I'm willing to close down the State House just so we could all go and check it out, because that band's phenomenal, like really, really great. But yeah, we're hoping to get back to more of that, because that's really what it's about. You know, like we could all eat chicken every night of the week and we'll be happy, but you know, a little diversity might be nice. Might experience something that we never thought we'd like. So,
sure. No, that's definitely true, and you start to see that too. You know, already it's been you know a short career as you know the State House itself, but there's been these phenomenal like defining music cultural moments, at least for the New Haven scene. Yes, just had the Steve Rogers show, but the first Steve Rogers show, I mean, the atmosphere and everything of that show, you could just tell it was an important moment for the music scene of New Haven. And it couldn't have happened anywhere else but the State House. Was that kind of the plan? Because that seems to be what the plan was, or what the hope was. You can't necessarily plan to be a cultural spot, but you can hope to.
I think we wrote that in our mission statement, but yeah.
There you go. I have a copy of the mission statement here. I'm just reading the questions off of the mission statement.
Do you on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. We got Carlos Wells with us with the State House on Behind the Brand. Go ahead, Carlos.
All right. What were we just saying?
Yeah, I think I lost this train of thought. That was usually my tagline.
Well,
go ahead, EZ
I was
BlueZ.
saying, you guys have had a short history. Even in that history, you guys have had these culturally defining moments for the scene of New Haven, like the Steve Rogers show, or I think pre-pandemic, there was a Chesky show that was completely sold out. And he had like a full band up there, which you don't necessarily see. So was that kind of, the grain? Was that sitting there in the foundation of what the State House was going to be, or did that just become what the State House is?
Well, those moments that you're referencing, that's the target. That's what we want to do all the time. I want every show to be like, that significant, where people come out and have the best time possible. Like, whether it's like a total local reunion of alumni, like the Steve Rogers show, or it's, some sort of weirdo band that we never see in these parts. Like the first time Feelies played in the area, the Madhu Mokhtar show that we had was just one of the first shows where the place was just bombed out. Like, tried to get out from behind the bar to go collect glasses and didn't make it more than 5 feet, and just turned back and said, well, it's going to do what it's going to do. People are going to show up with more glasses, I guess, because there's no way I'm getting through that crowd. But yeah, those are the moments that really, that at the end of the night, like you'll be sweaty, you're frustrated, you've argued with people, you've hugged a bunch of random people, but you feel great about the night. You just go home like just feeling like everything's lined up the way it should be, and we want to hit that more and more,
Now, speaking of that, we're coming to the summer months. June is around the corner. What kind of stuff do you have planned that we can talk about? Because when we're dealing with some things like this, contracts and things signed and blah, 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 blah. So what can we talk about that is coming through the State House that you're kind of looking forward to, or that you really are important for the listener now? Which you want to give the full address right before you say that, so they know he's 100% where to get that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You know it better than me.
Sure. We're over at 310 State Street in New Haven, but you can check us out at statehousepresents.com. We'll have our full calendar of events. And considering today's date, I think the next couple shows we got coming up are going to be pretty significant. There's we're teaming up for Pride Month with Butch Queens to do the sweat dance party. And the last one, it was just bananas. Talk about an event that's properly named. All of us just sweaty and just ridiculously tired, but like packed house, people dancing their butts off, having the best time. That was fantastic. And then we also have Joey Wood from TSOL is coming. That's a show that actually you helped put together. So mad props to you, man. I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be great. Primitive Man, which is like a really heavy band that played there before. They're going to be back on June 2nd. And let me see, the Pentagram's coming up on the 11th. And this is their 50th year of being a band. So I can't imagine. I don't want to speak to the health of the singer, but I would go see it now if you're considering seeing it all, because you never know. There's some hard living going on with these guys, and we're pretty excited that they made it. Chris Gethard is going to be doing some stand-up at our place on the 17th, and Tungsten Ruby Riders Tour with Pink Navel, SB the Moore, violin, bass nest, and 50 by 50s, which is a Sketch the Cataclysms bigger band. They're all going to be performing. That's on July 10th. Then there's a couple of random shows, like Matmos is going to be there. And for those who don't know, Matmos is like this like experimental electronica band. Really out there stuff. It's so worth your time, just because you can listen to the recording and you'll get a sense of what they're all about, but to see it live, it's just a whole different animal. Yeah. And I'm sure there's much, like 1,001 shows I'm thinking about right now, but
that's all right.
Just check out the site. Take a chance, go check them out.
Well, I love that you kind of mentioned that, and you mentioned that about the electronica band, but it's so true when it comes down to like music, period. You can listen to a record over and over again, and please do. It's some of the most fun I've ever had is just being quiet and listening to other people's music. But there's a huge thing, and there are some acts, through the history of music, that live they aren't necessarily as good as they are on the studio, and that's fine. The record's probably better than the act, but then there's just some acts that it just transcends. And when you go and you see them live, whether it be when we saw Prestige, when we saw Talib Kweli, and he had that moment where he started talking about, he played Eleanor Rigby, and he just started talking, about how Paul McCartney was a true MC. And then when he went line for line, like Eleanor Rigby, and he goes bars. That is a moment you're not going to hear on a record. And those are the moments that will stay with you. I mean, how long ago was that? That was pre-pandemic, and that moment still sits with me.
Yeah.
It's because those moments are real. They're organic. They happen right in front of you. Well, you can go to the studio and you can make the world's best record, but most of that is studio magic. You can spend forever working on 3 minutes of material, and sure, it'll come out great. But if you can pull it off live in front of people and have that kind of back and forth energy, that's what really makes it.
Yeah. One thing I really like about the State House. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was in conversation. Thoughts just went collided. It got so congested. It was crazy. I hate doing that to people. I hate when people do that to me and talk over me. I hate that so much. It's so rude. But Carlos, one thing I just want to mention, I just want to override Easy Blues, is I love the sound system you guys got there, man. It's like so cool. Just like to be in there. It's just like it feels like you're in like really a homemade studio, like when you walk in and stuff like that, because like the sound is just so easy. What's the word? You're in music studios more than me. Like, this, like what's the right terminology when you walk into great sound? Because I don't want to sound.
First of all, for everyone who has not been in
of course
the State House, it has been said by many different musicians. It's been said by a ton of different patrons that go to different shows. It is the best sounding room in New Haven. And I'm counting for the two big spots. You know what I mean? There's a warmth to it. And even talking about like those moments that those must see moments. The last time Miles and Chesky played the State House, Trash Boo from Germany, phenomenal performer. But literally his second song in, he goes, "Okay, who's ready to give me shoulder rides?" And this was his second show ever in America. He'd never met anybody other than like the people he was touring with. And he just jumped on a random guy's shoulders for an entire song. And it was such a beautiful moment to see. But again, you're never going to capture that on a record. But to get back to the sound aspect, during the pandemic, you guys actually took the time and kind of refined yourselves. And one of those things is adding those extra sound panels in there as well. But did you guys kind of get lucky? Like, speaking with Mike, and speaking with different aspects, and for some reason in New Haven, I will say it's definitely New Haven. There are certain rooms that aren't supposed to sound as good as they do, and there are other rooms that should sound better but they don't. Did you guys get lucky with that aspect? Yeah, well, at least Mike says that for the first while, you guys were getting lucky because the room just was sounding beautiful. And then you get those new panels up. So yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, prior to opening up the State House, every room that I ever worked in was kind of like piecemeal. Like I did a couple of basement shows where like, you know, if the PA was not powerful enough to get your vocals, then, you know, you're going palms up like, we're doing instrumentals tonight, you know. And prior to that, the first room I booked in town was Rudy's. And that was like maybe half the band can fit on the stage. The rest is going to have to kind of mingle amongst the crowd. The PA is only going to capture so much. But I remember when Daniel Street was a club over in Milford, I went there and I thought that had like the best sound of any club that I've been to in Connecticut. So that was John Conine and AJ from AJ Sound. That was their place. And when we were getting ready to open up, I went to them and I was like, here's the room. I think that room is going to sound fantastic just because of the shape, you know, it's got room for the sound to kind of go up. And, you know, it's a wider than it is longer room. So you can like kind of like make that sound boom. And they did a great job putting together a package. They set it up. And the crazy thing is that like we had spec'd the room out, put everything together. And prior to us opening the State House, it was just a big open warehouse space. Like we brought everything into there, including running water, electricity, like everything.
Wow.
But the landlord was supposed to replace the roof. And one day when we showed up with the stage that like we had bought from this dude in Brooklyn, they took the roof completely off. So walking into it felt like going into like the ruins, the Colosseum or something, you know, it's just like, oh, a whole lot of skylight happening in this room.
Oh man.
And then they put in a tin roof, a tin ceiling, which like bugged me out because I was like, all right, so like sound travels faster through metal than it does open air. So what they did was they basically transformed our place into just a giant speaker, which would be super problematic with neighbors and everything like that. Because like, you know, if you work in this business long enough, you know that as soon as people start having too much of a good time, someone from the city is going to show up and tell you to stop. So I didn't want anybody knowing what we're up to, what we're doing, or like I didn't want to like raise a flag saying live music going on here. Unfortunately, that's what happened. So then the first chance we got, we wound up getting a bunch of soundproofing material, and we took all these like floating clouds from the Grove space, which is my partner Slate's old place. And we just hung up, I think we hung up like 48 of them. So that, what it did was it helped kind of keep the sound in the room. And it also helps keep all the high-end frequencies under control. So once we're able to do that, then we're able to drive the PA even louder without any feedback, even though that PA doesn't need to be driven any louder than it is. It's got plenty of juice. So yeah, I'm real thankful for the sound, and you know, I would love to take 100% credit for it, but nope. AJ Sound hooked it up. You know, all the engineers, Mike Skaggs, Pat Dalton, Mike Boyce, you know, Sarah Woods, all of them like contributed in their own way to make sure that that room is just right, you know.
And it definitely is. It definitely is. Now, as you move forward and different type of aspects, one of the things that I absolutely love about it, but a lot of people are like, oh, you know, they have trouble necessarily finding the location because you're pushed back a little bit. Okay. You know, what I usually tell people is, you know, you make the right onto State Street off of Chapel, and then you make another right as soon as you can. You know, have you a thought of maybe putting the neon sign and stuff up there, or does that fall kind of under the, hey, we don't want to let people know we're having a good time?
I'm not so concerned about the signage. I mean, I don't feel that it's going to be a red flag for us in that respect. But the only reason why we're holding off on it is that while we've been there, the ownership of the building kind of has like changed hands, and now there's a possibility of them building right in front of us. And if that's the case, I kind of want to work on getting signage for the Orange Street entrance, because there's going to be a causeway from Orange Street, which is next to Elm City Games, to us. Right. And honestly, I think that's kind of a nicer walkway to the venue. So, if they do decide to build in front, like, they've been threatening for a while, then we're going to try to like make the other way the way in, and then just kind of work on that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it is a fun little walkway too. I was blessed enough during the Steve Rogers show. They also had the night market, so it was nice to kind of tie those two events in together. And also, it's a really good spot for, like, say, those younger musicians that are having a little bit of trouble drawing or something like that. They can hit that little walkway and get down to like EC games and meet some people right then and there and be like, hey, by the way, we're playing over here. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is come down this path and go through. And I think that is something that I would love to see some of the younger cats, get involved in, because it's so important to have that actual connection with people. And it's a beautiful thing to do. So yeah.
That's one of the things that we sold our landlord on, was just that, we'll do this thing. We'll open up this venue, and some of your tenants might not be happy about the noise that we make, but ultimately, if we do this right, we'll be driving at least 100 people to that area, which will, hit the surrounding bars and restaurants and other tenants of theirs to kind of revitalize that area. And, yeah, that's been proven true, actually, mm-hmm. which is pretty neat. But remember, a long time ago, I used to work with Paul over at Cafe 9, and
mm-hmm.
he was talking about the evolution of 9 Square, and how when I was a kid, I used to drive to New Haven to go see shows, and like when I would go down to like the tune-in, you'd go by like every other building was abandoned or boarded up, and it was just crickets and like tumbleweeds in that neighborhood, and it was freaking glorious, just because it was, as a young guy going to check out music, that whole neighborhood was yours. You felt like, mm-hmm. It was frontier days, but as more people start venturing to that area, as we start doing these events that drive numbers down there, other people take notice. And next, like abandoned building becomes like, high-end yoga studio, or like, high-priced apartments. And next, we can't make noise or live there as cheaply as we once did. And, gentrification. And, we're setting our eyes on Fairhaven and trying to like spread that out and like constantly being chased by it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, no, it's really interesting, because it's actually something that I talk about. I talk about personally a lot. Is, if, say, the city invested a little bit more in the local arts, especially the musical aspect of it, and we could fully grow that, you would start to see a lot more positive transformation, of the places around there. And when I say, invest in the local arts, I don't just necessarily mean the venues. I mean the actual musicians. I mean, the Kron and the New News, who are sitting in their house and have lived in New Haven pretty much their entire life, but, the mayor doesn't necessarily know them, and he should, because, this is something that can help cultivate that next generation. A thriving art scene throughout all of history has driven the golden era is always because the arts were thriving. When art and culture can thrive, then the rest of us can come aboard. And we've gotten very far away from there, mainly because people did what they needed to do to make money. We don't judge. People live their lives the way that was necessary. But I do feel that if we can start going back to that and start really, really investing in that itself, we'll start to see some real positive changes, in our local city. And then hopefully, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, that rock in the pond, you drop that and the wave, that ripple effect can go out and continue to grow. So,
and we're continuing to grow on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. We got Carlos Wells with us on Behind the Brand. EZ BlueZ, continue.
Well, everyone can tell you, I absolutely love your venue. I found a way to just become immersed in your venue. The first time I walked in there, I was like, I need to be here as much as humanly possible. And now I'm there as much as humanly possible. And I'm able to do it without getting those shakes in the hands from the whiskey. So I think that amongst itself is a positive. So it works out really well. As you're moving forward, what can the community, what can the listeners who necessarily haven't stepped in there yet, what can they do to kind of help support you and to help drive the culture?
Well, the answer is in the question. They got to step in there. We can't move forward without everybody involved. So that's the secret. Just go out and support as much as possible, even if it's something you have no clue about. Go out, take a chance on something. It's as the city evolves and everything, trying to get the city or even the state involved in some sort of way to protect the arts, like put us on an endangered species list or something to that effect, even create a safe zone for us to be loud and be weird. Those are all positive things. And those are attainable as long as we're all unified in this vision. We get people to come out more. Thanks, it's a scene. Mm-hmm. And once it's a scene, we're able to kind of command some numbers and say we're going to try to do this thing, and other people will stand behind you. We want to do expand night market, have more live music be part of it. Why not? We want to talk to the city about maybe just closing off that portion of Orange Street and keeping it just a walkway area. Why not? I kind of feel that there's a lot of things that we can pull off as long as we're all together on it.
No, it's so true. And that's the truest aspect of it. Because we don't know every single personal listener that listens in. And there's a lot, and we appreciate every single one of you. And please tell your friends. But we don't know them personally. But I'm pretty positive that they didn't even know the night market was happening. And I feel like, we as journalists need to be a little bit better. And it's one of the reasons why we have this show, so we can have, amazing guests like yourself. And we've actually had ECG Games on here as well. And some of the people who participated in the night market, but also, look, we get it. It was 2 scary years. And everything was kind of threw everybody off. Mm. And now nobody really necessarily wants to go outside because the big bad boogeyman is going to come and get them. But that's not true. Please go outside. Please go check out, that show that you wanted to go see anyway. Mm-hmm. It did. You were hoping it was going to go on to streaming. It didn't go on to streaming. And go engage. Go engage with your neighborhood. Go engage with your neighbors nicely. You usually engage with your neighbors because they parked and blocked you in your driveway and you're yelling at each other. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, hey, go toss a Frisbee around or something like that. But really get involved in that type of aspect, because there's a lot of incredible things that happen out here in New Haven. We just had the art walk, also the night market came through. The Arts and Ideas Festival is happening or has just happened, all these different type of aspects, and there's a lot to really get involved in, plus you have a venue like the State House that in a single week, you can go through 3 to 4 different types of culture, and, it's amazing. I never knew what klezmer music was until I sat at the door at the State House for the first time. And now it's some of my favorite things, and look, the second show that they did, they sat there and explained how some of these songs were written. And it was terrifying. But there was this amazing joy that even came out of some of these darkest moments. And if you can feel and you can connect with that, then maybe your today isn't as bad and tomorrow can be a little bit better. So please go out and check things out. Now, what show are you the most supercalifragilistic excited about that you've got coming down the pike that you can talk about? Because, you know.
Oh, man. All right. So there's actually three that I'm looking the most forward to. Is one is the Pentagram show, just because, you know, it's the 50-year mark, and belittling. I doubt he's going to make 60. Not to be grim, but I'm just saying, like, it's going to be a good show. The other one would be the Matmo show, which is just experimental weirdness. It's going to be great. And June of 44 in this November or October, this fall. It's coming this fall. June of 44 is going to play. They're one of these bands that, like, from Louisville, Kentucky. They're just they put out just bomb record after bomb record after bomb record, and it's actually. When I first moved to New Haven, I think Engine Takes Water might have been like one of the first records that I bought for a turntable. And I was just like, all right, this is going to be the start of a whole new chapter of my life. Out of Bridgeport into New Haven, let's see what we can get into. And over the years, I've actually gotten to know Jeff Mueller. He moved to town. Him and I worked on some records together, and I'm really excited to have this show. I'm just so looking forward to it. And beyond that, there's just a mountain of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'm working on that I can't talk about yet, but if it pulls off, I'll make a lot of noise about it so everyone knows.
They'll know. They'll know. No, that's one of the coolest aspects too. Is you have these moments to, you know, here you have a personal connection with this record, and now you have the opportunity to you know, provide the live experience so other people can have a beautiful personal connection as well. And that's great. Now, we like to get a little bit weird on the show sometimes. So I'm going to say, what was your favorite show that you put together in your entire career as a promoter?
All right. So there's two that are tied. But for different reasons entirely. One was when I was at Central Connecticut State University, we put together Notorious B.I.G., and that was freaking great. It was a giant Coliseum, like, awesome show. The second show would be Wolf Parade at Cafe 9. Wolf Parade, most listeners now are probably have to Google this, but let me just save you the time. They're a very popular indie rock band from like the early 2000s. One of the agents I was talking to at the time told me about the band and how Isaac from Modest Mouse produced their record, and it's going to be a big deal. So we had a handshake agreement to have them at Cafe 9, and the guarantee was $150. 2 days after we made that agreement, the record came out. It got like incredible reviews, and then like their tour just upgraded, and their shows went from like $5 cover to $20 to get in 2002, which is like $1 million now.
Yeah.
But so we still had that on the books for that much money, and it was like incredibly glorious night. Like, dudes drove down from Canada to come see that show. Wow. It was like pouring rain, and people were just standing outside hoping that someone would tag out so they go in and, you know, take their spot. And the guys in the band were like super friendly and really nice. I actually just opened up Firehouse 12, so I wasn't even at that show. I like stopped in for like a couple minutes here and there just to check it out, but you know, I was absent. So after that show, the band came over to Firehouse 12. We drank whiskey. They helped me mop the floors. I found a place to crash, and then they were off. And then like a month later, they came back to play Toad's Place to another sold out crowd. So I was like, that was quite the jump. You know, and I was pretty excited about that.
That is so cool. That is so cool. All right. Now on the flip side of that, what is the weirdest? What's the show you're like, yeah, we walked away from this one. It's okay. What's the weirdest show that you pulled off where things just kind of just started off going wrong and never got better?
A long time ago when I was at Rudy's, I booked the Beer Scouts of America, which were like a popular local punk band that did only songs about beer. And then they recommended that I hire this band called Moist Chicken. Really repugnant name, but I was just like, all right, we'll try it. What the hell, you guys? This is your show. This is who you want as an opener. And that band showed up, and part of their act was the singer, who was kind of a heavier set dude, did a song which I don't think is actually safe for radio to tell you what the name of the song was.
Thank you very much.
Performance, you got it. Stripped down to a thong and then tarred himself and feathered himself, like ripped open a pillow. He had like maple syrup all over himself.
And oh my God.
Yeah. And whenever I see stuff like that as a person that works a place, you know, like when everyone like fires off a confetti gun, I'm like, damn it, I got to clean that up. You know, like that's the first thing that jumps in my head. When I saw the feathers start flying around that side room at Rudy's, I was like, oh, we're going to be sweeping these things up for freaking months. And yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Well, enough about him. Let's talk a little bit more about you. Best bartender 5 years in a row. How does it feel?
I'm just as numb to it now as I was back when I won the it's, you know, the New Haven Advocate readers polls were always just like popularity contests, you know, like
of course, yeah.
I booked a lot of shows, so I had a lot of people that knew me, and you know, my bartending skills were good. You know, I haven't made a lot of drinks that are still canon over at Firehouse 12.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, I gotta be honest, they're better people. Like you can find a better bartender, no problem. It's just that I was friendly and made people feel at ease, and that's usually the whole thing. Usually
how you do it. It's just your connections with people. You know, you may not make the best drinks in the world, but you may have the best connections in the world. Making sense. You know,
and if you get a little more booze, you can win both battles there. So that's that.
That's true as well. That's true as well.
There's actually like a picture of me winning the Advocate Award for like the second year.
Wow.
And they gave me a mug that said New Haven Advocate. And then they wanted me to pose with a couple guys that I think they were the publishers or something. So I was like, all right, just like holding the mug, and they're to the left and the right of me. And my wife saw the picture. She was just like, you look so bothered by this whole thing. And I was just like, realistically, I'm more of an introvert. Like, you know, I don't like it when the spotlight's on me, which is weird because I got into show business. But, you know, it's just, I prefer to be more behind the scenes, you know.
Of course. I'm a little bit introvert as well too. So this radio thing is just like kind of opening up my shell like each and every day. So I totally understand and everything. Like it's really cool behind the scenes. I think the best part about being an introvert, you like to see others around you win. And just the conversations Dustin has been having with me, just being a part of the State House. You're really, really, really committed to teamwork when it comes to that place. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Of course, man. Definitely. Well, easy. I don't want to overstep. Go right ahead, boss.
No, you're not overstepping at all. I'm not overstepping. No, I absolutely, I love that, and it's true. Like it is that, you know, team type of environment, you know, that we all kind of like jump through and knock out what's able to do that. But again, we would not be able to do any of that if you didn't have culture, you know, within yourself, you know, and so. Again, don't not give yourself credit, you know, because even in the awards, to me, the best bartender isn't the guy that can make the drink spot on. The best bartender is that guy that, you know, can sit there and I can feel comfortable, whether I be one drink or 4 drinks in, I can feel comfortable having that conversation. But unfortunately, before we really fully get in depth in the conversation, the Apollo curtain is starting to close down. And we're starting to get at the end of the aspect. But what we love to do here, give you the last 2 minutes of the show, 100% to you. How can the listener get in contact with you or support you and those different type of aspects? All your social media drops and everything here.
All right, cool. Just go check us out at statehousepresents.com. I believe we're on Facebook, The State House, and Instagram at State House NHB. No, that's our Twitter handle. And but we're also on Instagram. We're all over the social stuff, and it won't take much to find us. So please, follow us, check some stuff out. If you want to support me more so, find me on the street, give me money. Whatever works best for you, really. I'm easygoing.
No, for real though. If you find him on the street, and if you find me on the street, just tell me the money is for Carlos. Because if you don't tell me that, I'm gonna keep it. I'm just gonna be honest. If you tell me that, I'm gonna make sure it gets to him. But if you don't tell me, I'm gonna put it in my pocket.
Yeah, everybody in Radioland know there's a finder's fee for any money that you bring to me.
Noted.
Get a piece.
Well, Carlos, we just want to thank you for being part of the program right here on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Behind the brand, myself, Prestige, and EZ Blues. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just this